Hello, and welcome to Senior Care's Living Wisely, Aging Well. We discuss topics of interest to people aged 60 and over, and also adults living with disabilities. I'm Tracy Arabian, and today my guest is David Pat. David is Senior Care's Money Management Program Manager. Welcome, Dave. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to discuss the Massachusetts Money Management Program. So, David, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me, what is the Massachusetts Money Program?
Sure. So we know that money is stressful for people at any age. When we're younger, it might be trying to buy our first home, making rent payments, paying off student loans. All of those things go on at various parts of our lives. And as we get older, money can become a little bit more stressful. And it became more stressful because we're living on Social Security, a fixed income, or just the day-to-day of sticking to a budget, creating a budget, or writing checks can be a little bit more difficult. So about 30 years ago, Commonwealth of Massachusetts created the Massachusetts Money Management Program. It's a program that's administered by the organizations like Senior Care around the state. And our goal is to help seniors who might be at risk of losing their independence because they're not able to pay bills on time, create that budget, or just do the things that they can do to alleviate the stress that goes along with money management. We have a wonderful team of very highly trained volunteers. They go into the seniors' homes once or twice a month. They go through the mail. And as we all know, as we get older, it seems we get more and more mail, charities and other things that want our attention. And of course, some of that mail is not good mail. They want to take our money. And our volunteers go into the home, sort through the mail together, talk about a budget, and make sure that those necessary bills are paid.
Excellent. Are there eligibility guidelines for a senior who wants to be enrolled in this program?
Sure. It is a program in which we want to help as many people as possible. The typical rules that apply are an income eligibility of around $60,000 a year is the limit. And I say around $60,000 because there's some other rules that go in there depending on your household size. So I think $60,000 is a kind of a good rule of thumb. And then 60 years of age. And of course, Senior Care, our area that we serve. Are you going to quiz me on this as far as me listing the towns? But I believe it's Beverly, Hamilton, Wenham, Manchester, Essex, Gloucester, Rockport, Topsfield. Did I miss any? Oh, Ipswich, of course. So we cover those 9 towns. And there are other aging service access points that cover the other towns around the state. But we cover those 9 wonderful towns. Thank you, Ipswich. We have wonderful clients in each one of those communities.
Excellent. What are the biggest financial challenges facing seniors today?
Yeah. So as I said, one of the big hurdles that we face when working with our seniors is just going through the paperwork and all the things that come into the home. And by paperwork, it is certainly the junk mail that can be a problem. But of course, it's the documents that come in when it comes to our health care, when it comes to different things that seniors might need to address, such as requalifying for housing, if that's something that applies to them. But by far, the biggest challenge that we want to help seniors with are avoiding financial scams. There are a lot of good people out there, but there are some bad people out there who don't have the best interest of our seniors in mind, certainly in any degree. And there are a lot of financial scams out there that are truly scary for seniors right now.
Oh, yes. So what are some of the most prevalent scams out there that people are seeing, and what can we do to stay safe from them?
Yeah. So, it's interesting. There's a lot of data out there about financial scams. And the one thing that's very interesting is that the types of scams that are out there are very targeted for people at different ages. So as you're younger, the scammers out there might be looking for people who are more active on the internet, who might be doing more things on social media. Now, certainly people at every single age are on social media, but those scammers try to target people based on their age and what might be the most effective. And so really the the two biggest scams that seniors need to be aware of are, number one, government imposter scams. And these are scammers that typically call you up and claim to be from Medicare or the IRS or Social Security. And when they do this, really what you need to understand is they're looking for two things. Number one, your confidential information. So they want to know your name, your address, your bank account information, and of course your Social Security number. And then number two, besides your information, we all know this, they want your money. And so when it comes to these types of organizations that are or these scammers that are calling you, the one piece of advice that I always give is go slow. Typically the scammers are going to call you up and want you to act right away. There's some urgency that they tell you that you need to address, and it's important that you respond immediately. They may say that you're in trouble with the law and that you need to respond right away. Of course, we're recording this at the beginning of April, and it's tax season. And while the Massachusetts Money Management Program doesn't provide tax assistance, people get calls from the IRS or people who claim to be the IRS this time of year. And there's two types of scams that go on out there right now when it comes to the IRS. The one that's probably the most prevalent is someone will call and claim to be from the IRS and say, you owe money, you need to give us the money right now. And that will always be a scam if somebody claims to do that. And so just hang up. Don't do anything with that. Just hang up right away. The other type of IRS scam that we've seen out there as well is a scammer will call and say, hey, it's the IRS, good news, we reviewed your taxes and we've determined we actually owe you money. So could you please give us your bank account information and your Social Security number, as if they wouldn't have it already, and we're going to put some money in your account. Now, that clearly would never happen. And of course, anyone, when they get good news like that, they're like, great, I have money coming to me. But of course, that's not what their intent is. Their intent is to get your information, have access to your bank account information, and take your money. And so that's one scam, especially this time of year, but really throughout the year, that I think people need to worry about. The other scam that I think most people have heard about, but it's become a little bit more dangerous recently, is what's typically called the grandparent scam, or sometimes the grandchild scam. And that's a situation in which a scammer will call up and claim to be a grandchild and say, Grandma, I'm in trouble, I was arrested, or I was in a car accident, and I need money right away. Would you please send me some money? I don't want to call my mom and dad. I'm very embarrassed about this situation. I just need some money. And they'll give you a means of getting that money to them. And it might not be the grandchild. It might be somebody purporting to be a police officer who's saying that your grandchild has been arrested. And there's sometimes a question about, well, why wouldn't the senior know the grandchild's voice? Well, remember, it's over the phone, where voices are sometimes not as able to be discerned, and that can sometimes happen. And of course, you're emotional when you receive that call. You're told that someone you truly love is in trouble, and so you want to respond right away. But what's really scary that has come up most recently is, I think most of us have heard about AI, or artificial intelligence. The scammers now have a way of taking just a brief sound bite of someone's voice and recreating it and using other words so that caller may sound exactly like your grandchild. And how would you know? And how do they get these sound bites? Maybe your grandchild has posted a little bit of a video or voice clip on their social media accounts. The scammers can get that information, they'll recreate it, and I don't understand the technology about this, but they will call using that voice, truly that voice, and they will say, Grandma, I'm in trouble, you need to send money right now. And I think that when that happens, know that it is truly a scam. There's nothing you need to do. If you were concerned about it, then you can always say, I'll call you back, call the child's parents, call someone else, try to reach the grandchild on your own, and see if they answer the phone, which is really probably the best thing to do. Say, I can't do this right now. I know that will be difficult to do, but I will call you back. And of course, when you do call, and if you are able to reach the grandchild, you'll find out that it is a scam.
Wow. So evil.
It is
It's
evil.
just anyway. Let's move on to something a little bit more cheerful.
Yes.
Tell us about how do you build a budget?
Sure. I think that the word budget, when any of us hear that, it kind of makes us tense up a little bit because it immediately kind of, gives us the inference that we're going to be told we can't do something, that we have to stick to something that's very austere and we have to just do what's absolutely necessary. And that's really not the case of how we should consider a budget, and it's absolutely not the way that our volunteers work with a senior. So it's really about wants and needs. And first of all, there's needs. We need to have on a list of a piece of paper in our budget, what are the absolutely vital things that we need to do each month. We need to pay the rent or the mortgage. We need to make sure that our medical bills are paid, and we need to make sure that we have enough money for food. And so those are the first kind of, need items that have to be addressed. After that, it's about want. And we're working with seniors who have full lives and want to do big things and small things. And sometimes those small things are going to Dunkin's or to Starbucks. They're buying a couple of scratch tickets. They're going out to lunch with friends. And so our goal in budgeting is to make sure that those things are considered and those things are budgeted for. Now, sometimes those types of things can become unaffordable if you're doing them all the time. And so, say you're somebody who enjoys buying scratch tickets. Well, maybe you can't spend, $50 or $100 a month, but we're never going to tell a person that they can't spend any money on scratch tickets. We're going to work on a budget so all those things are considered. Some of the folks that we work with today are considering what their summer plans might be. So they want to have a little bit of money put aside. So the budget that we set up in the first meeting, is going to be monitored and addressed and changed as time goes on. So if you're saving for a little summer fun, we work that into the budget. If you're approaching the holiday season, you want to put away a little money aside for gifts, we work on that. So a budget isn't necessarily about saying no, it's about saying yes to as many things as possible. And that's really what it is.
Almost answering the question, how?
Yeah.
How am I going to do everything?
Right. And it is tough. It is tough. And sometimes the conversations are difficult, but more often than not, I think that many of our seniors are limiting themselves because they're afraid of running out of money. And certainly when you're on a fixed income or a low income, that's a legitimate concern. But if we can work together and see how those things are done, to your point, how those things are done, I think it gives a little bit more freedom and independence.
Excellent. Now, are there items that people tend to forget to budget?
Yeah. Here's here's one that since I joined Senior Care a couple of years ago that I knew from personal experience how expensive it was, and I now try to remind people how important it is to consider. Cats or dogs or any pet. And for any of us who have pets, when you consider how much food is, how much grooming costs are, and how much just even a checkup is, once a year or whatever it is, you have to keep that in the budget. So when it comes to working with a budget with our seniors, typically for someone who has any type of pet, we have two budget items. We have the monthly expenses, the food and any medications and those types of things, but we try to help the senior put aside some money for those once a year checkup, or if there's something coming on down the road, or if, every 12 weeks, depending on how furry or hairy that animal might be, how much the grooming costs might be, or nail clipping. So pets are a wonderful thing. I'll always have pets, and so many of our seniors do, and I just try to remind them that that is a big and important budget item.
Oh, yeah. I have two cats.
Yes.
They are a significant part of my budget.
And cat trees. How expensive are cat trees?
Oh, geez.
Yes.
So moving in a different direction, there's been a lot of things in the news lately about benefit reductions in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is sometimes known also as food stamps or SNAP. What can you tell us about that?
Well, food insecurity is a major issue for so many people around the country, and especially for our seniors. When we look at how food prices have increased over the last couple of years, I think we all realize that. And, I think last year the food increase for the average market basket that you might pick up, not market basket at the store, but a basket full of consumers' goods increased about 11%. The year before that, it was 6%. And so I haven't seen any reductions in what I buy. And so, food inflation is a major problem for everyone, especially seniors. And the SNAP benefits that the seniors received a couple of years ago, or during the initial and height of the pandemic, there was some additional federal funding so that seniors could receive a little bit extra money. And that was really vital and important for seniors and anyone to receive who is eligible for SNAP benefit. At the end of March, that went away. That supplemental benefit went away, which was a real problem. And the seniors who worked with thought that was, we're very worried about that as an issue. Recently, within the last couple of weeks, the state of Massachusetts passed a budget bill that actually restores some of that extra benefit. Not the full amount, about 40% of that extra benefit that will be going out this month, April of 2023, as we're talking. Right now, the state has only approved that for the next 3 months, through the end of this fiscal year. So good news in a way, because it does provide some extra money, but not completely good news because it doesn't provide the whole thing.
Nor is it permanent.
Nor is it permanent.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that a person can address food insecurity?
Yeah, and I will say that, the food is a big part of the discussion that we have with seniors. It's so important that we address that need. It is one of those 3 needs that I mentioned. Your home, your food, and your medical care are really the 3 most important needs that we address in this program. And the fortunate thing about where senior care is located is that we have wonderful organizations in our community that assist people of all ages, and that includes seniors, in big and wonderful ways. And there are many, so I apologize for not listing all of them, but the 2 ones that come to mind are Open Door up here in Gloucester, and down in Beverly, there's Bootstrap. And these are tremendous organizations with wonderful staff and tremendous donors who provide various ways that seniors can get fresh groceries, they can talk to them about their SNAP benefits, and they can do all sorts of things that make sure that need is met. And so I love those 2 organizations and the other ones that are out there, and I encourage people to really look at those organizations. I know that sometimes pride takes over, and we don't want to consider asking for a hand, but we all need a hand at any time in our lives, so I think it's important that we look at that. Additionally, at Senior Care, we have our Meals on Wheels program, and I sit near the nutrition folks, actually right in the middle of all the nutrition folks, and I will tell you that we have very hardworking people throughout senior care, our care managers, our nurses, and all the folks that I am surrounded by. The nutrition people have a wonderful place in my heart, because I swear that they're in earlier in the morning. When I get in, they've already been there, and when I leave at the end of the day, they're still there too. And so our nutrition people who organize and maintain our Meals on Wheels program are great people, and I think we serve, several hundred meals every single day of the week, Monday through Friday at least. And it's not just meals, but our drivers and the people who work at our distribution facilities provide kind of a social element, delivering those meals to people who aren't getting out much. And the nutrition people, and we call them nutrition people, not meals people, because they're also very concerned with the meals meeting the nutritional needs of our seniors, and they provide some special meals as well for people who have dietary needs and restrictions. So the Meals on Wheels program, just a tremendous part of what senior care does.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's such a fabulous program.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that Senior Care's money management program uses volunteers. Do you need more volunteers? I
do. I always am in need of volunteers. Sometimes I can't, match them right away. And people who are interested in this program will often ask me, do you need a business background? Do you need an MBA? Do you need a CPA or those types of things? And I say, absolutely not. There is a state requirement of having an undergraduate degree, and we can talk about that if it doesn't apply to a potential volunteer. The biggest skill that I'm looking for a prospective volunteer is organizational skills, because of all that stuff that comes into a person's home, all that paperwork and all those bills and paperwork that just inundate us. So that's what I like to hear about first, is how they have that ability to go through all those documents that a senior receives. I think that when it comes to financial know-how, the money management program, we don't provide tax advice or tax filing assistance. We don't provide legal advice and estate planning. We don't do any of those types of things. It's really strictly bill paying and budgeting. And so if you have experience with doing that for your own home and you feel good about your ability to help other seniors, fantastic. Again, it takes a while for me to set up training programs, but we will be having those in the near future, and I'd love to talk to anybody who's interested in the program.
So if somebody is interested, how do they get a hold of you? What do they do to start that process?
Yeah, just call me at Senior Care is really the best way, 978-281-1750. Did I get that right, Tracy?
Yes.
All right, and I know we have an 800 number as well,
Don't ask me.
866-927, probably my note,
On the back of that brochure.
Yeah, and contact me about it. And it's a no obligation discussion. We'll talk about the program. We'll talk about concerns. One of the early conversations that I have with prospective volunteers is talking about their schedule. They'll say, I'm working full time. When can I meet a senior that I'm assisting? And I'll say, often weekends are great. Our seniors are typically retirees, and so meeting on the weekends is often fine. I'll talk to the prospective volunteer about, possibly they're allergic to those cats. And, but we have, seniors that we're serving who don't have cats. And so that's not a problem. So the need out there is tremendous right now for seniors who can use this type of assistance. So I'm always looking for a good volunteer bank.
Excellent. And speaking of the need, if somebody wants to enroll in the program as a consumer of the program,
Sure.
What do they do?
Yeah, they call me, the same number, and we'll talk to them about it, and we'll get them on the list. And sometimes, there's a concern for whether or not they need the full program. And I'll say that, sometimes just an initial meeting or a conversation is important. This program, Tracy, is designed for ongoing care and services for seniors, but sometimes what we'll do, and it's typically me who goes out and meets with a senior who's interested, who needs some help, we kind of just set them up for being in a good place to manage on their own. And sometimes this program, after serving a senior for a while, the senior may say, you know what, I got it. I'm okay right now. I think you've helped me get organized. You've helped me, start paying my bills on time. Maybe we've created some auto pay so that the rent is automatically, paid for. And I think I got it. And so I think that, for the people that we're working with, call me and we'll talk about the program. I'll come out and visit and we'll see if this is a good thing for you.
Excellent. We have just a minute or so left. I've heard of a program called Representative Payee. Now, I know I didn't give you any warning on this.
That's
Can
okay.
you give me a 1-minute synopsis of Rep Payee program?
Sure. Sometimes as a person ages, due to physical or mental issues, they're no longer able to pay their bills at all. So with the regular program that we've been talking about, a senior maintains full control over their checkbook, over their finances. Senior Care has no control over what they do with their money. We're just assisting. The Representative Payee program is a little bit different, and it's actually a federal program that is designed to help those seniors who don't have the ability physically, mentally to manage their federal benefit. And so what happens in that case is, first of all, a physician determines that, yes, in fact, the senior is no longer eligible to handle their federal benefits or Social Security or supplemental payments or state payments as well. And instead, that those benefits will come to Senior Care. And what senior care will do is work with that senior, talk to them about their budget, and we will pay their bills for them. So we will primarily make sure that those three need items are paid for: the rent, the food, the medical expenses, and we will pay for those things. But just because you're not able to pay your bills yourself, we'll also help with that budgeting and other types of things. So we have representative, payee clients who have CAT. So I work with those clients, and it's typically me who does the work with our representative payee clients to make sure that Fluffy is well taken care of. So it's a wonderful next level of service for some of our seniors.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. To learn more about senior care and the programs that senior care offers to the elders in our community, you can visit our website at www.seniorcareinc.org, or you can give us a call at 978-281-1750. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Have a great day. Thank you.